Lesson 7, Discussion Essay. In this lesson, similar to the last one, we're going to go through a full essay. We'll look at the question, we'll make sure we understand it, see what it's asking us to do, then we'll go through the planning stage, noting ideas, and then we'll use those ideas to write an introduction, main body, and conclusion. And at the end, we'll check everything, and I'll highlight a few things that I did that made it a good essay. So let's get started with this discussion essay now. The question that I'm going to use in this lesson comes from Cambridge Ielts Book 5. It's Test 3 in that book. Let's look at how my students and I wrote a full essay for this question. Here's the question first. Some people think that a sense of competition in children should be encouraged. Others believe that children who are taught to cooperate rather than compete become more useful adults. Discuss both these views and give your own opinion. Let's go through the planning steps first. First, read and understand the question and highlight or underline key parts. I've highlighted both views because it's very important that we write a good paragraph about the two viewpoints. Then, what are the two viewpoints? Well, I've highlighted the keywords competition and cooperate. We're discussing whether children should be taught one or the other of those things. And we also have to give our own opinion. That's important. You need to make it clear in your essay what you think as well as discussing the two viewpoints. Now on to step 2 in our planning process, which is plan your essay structure, the 4-paragraph structure. Here are the 4 paragraphs: introduction, 2 main body paragraphs, and conclusion. And let's plan the introduction first. We need 2 sentences, just a topic sentence and an answer sentence. The topic of this essay is going to be competition or cooperation, and the answer, benefits of both, cooperation more important. That's the answer that my students and I decided we would give. Then let's jump in our planning to the conclusion. We just need to repeat that answer in a different way. So we'll say something like this: accept both views and cooperation is better in our opinion. And then in the middle, the most important part, we've got the main body paragraphs. Paragraph 2 is going to be about one viewpoint, which is why encourage competition in children. And of course, paragraph 3 will be why teach cooperation, and we'll make it clear that that's our view as well. That's the structure planned. Now on to step 3 in the planning process, which is plan ideas for the 2 main paragraphs. Spend about 6 minutes for this. This is a very important part of your planning and of the whole test really, because if you don't have good ideas, good vocabulary, you don't have an answer, you have nothing. So it's very important to spend some time brainstorming and getting good ideas. Let's look at the ideas that my students and I had. The topic of paragraph 2 is why encourage competition in children. Here are the ideas that we had: motivation to work harder, be better than other children, self-confidence, independent work, faster progress, competitive situations when children leave school, for example job interviews, prepared for adult life. That's the result of our brainstorming. Now if we put numbers next to those ideas, we can think about how the paragraph will be organised. We thought this isn't a collection of separate ideas. It's not going to be a firstly, secondly, finally paragraph. Really, it's just one idea and what happens as a result of that idea. So we thought that the main reason why we would like to encourage competition in children is to motivate them. So we'll start with that as a basic topic sentence. What will we motivate them to do? We'll motivate them to work harder because they might want to be better than other children. The next step after that is, what will this cause? What will the result be? Well, it might cause them to have more self-confidence, to work independently and to progress faster if they're trying to compete. Then we move on to what will happen after school. Well, they'll have to compete, in this example, for job interviews when they leave school, and finally that prepares them well for adult life. So as you can see, instead of having separate ideas, we think these are all related ideas, going step by step through why competition is a good thing for children. If we do the same thing for paragraph 3, why teach cooperation, we'll start with the ideas we had. Cooperation is even more important. For example, at work, you work in teams, you follow a boss's instructions, or you help other staff, maybe junior staff. Collaboration is more useful than winning. Better attitude for young people. Working together. If we put these ideas in order with numbers, we thought the basic idea is that cooperation is even more important than competition. And we went into an example then of what happens later in life. So instead of starting when children are young, we've gone straight to the adult life, why they need to be able to cooperate at work, working in teams, etc. And as a result of that, we'll say that this collaboration is more useful than winning. So for young people, it's better to teach them this cooperative attitude. And we'll finish with an idea that we get children working together because that's what they're going to do later in life. So that's the full plan there with numbers, and that's what we're going to use to write our main paragraphs in a moment. But first we need to go back to the introduction. We've already planned the introduction. Let's look at the question again and our introduction plan. Just 2 sentences, a topic sentence and an answer sentence. Here's the topic sentence that we wrote. People have different views about whether children should be taught to be competitive or cooperative. Notice the phrase people have different views is a nice easy phrase that I often use for discussion questions when it's some people, other people. Notice also I've used competitive instead of competition and cooperative instead of cooperate or cooperation. So just changing the words makes your introduction slightly different from the question. Now we need an answer, and we have to mention the benefits of both, but our opinion that cooperation is more important. Here's the first part of our answer. While a spirit of competition can sometimes be useful in life, then the second part, I believe that the ability to cooperate is more important. If you've watched my lesson about introductions, you'll have seen that I like to use these while sentences because you can contrast 2 different things in the same sentence. So I've talked about the spirit of competition being useful, that's a good phrase, but on the other hand, the ability to cooperate is more important. So I've mentioned both views and my opinion all in the introduction, so I've covered everything the question asks me to cover. Next, we need to use the ideas that we planned to write our main paragraphs. Let's go to paragraph 2 first of all. The first idea for our topic sentence was why encourage competition. We thought the first step, the main reason, was motivation for children. Here's a sentence to put that idea together. On the one hand, competition can be a great source of motivation for children. Notice I've used on the one hand because we're discussing the 2 different points of view. Later we'll use on the other hand. So we've started with this idea that competition is a great source of motivation for children. Then our next idea was because they will work harder, try to be better than the other children. When teachers use games or prizes to introduce an element of competitiveness into lessons, it can encourage children to work harder to outdo the other pupils in the class. You can see that I've added things there. I've added what kind of competition this could be. So we thought we should put something like games or prizes. That's what the competitiveness could mean. Then this phrase, introduce an element of competitiveness, is a nice way of saying bring competition into the classroom. And then we've got what we had in the plan, encourage children to work harder. And instead of the phrase be better than other children, I gave my students the word outdo. To outdo someone means to do better than them. That was the second idea, and then the next step was this would cause or result in self-confidence, independent work and faster progress. So let's express that in a sentence. This kind of healthy rivalry may help to build children's self-confidence while pushing them to work independently and progress more quickly. Again, there's some good vocabulary there. Healthy rivalry. Rivalry is another word for competition between people. And we've put build self-confidence, pushing them to work independently and progress more quickly. The next idea was competitive situations when leave school. So we're going on to why children need this competitive spirit when they leave school. And we wrote, when these children leave school, their confidence and determination will help them in competitive situations such as job interviews. So we've expressed that idea, we've used a good word there in determination. And finally, prepared for adult life. So like a concluding sentence, this competition or competitive nature will prepare them for adult life. We wrote, it can therefore be argued that competition should be encouraged in order to prepare children for adult life. That's the paragraph finished. It's 5 sentences and it's 102 words long. Let's do the same thing for paragraph 3. We'll start with the idea cooperation is even more important. We wrote, on the other hand, because we're comparing here the two viewpoints, it is perhaps even more important to prepare children for the many aspects of adult life that require cooperation. So what we're saying here is, although competition is sometimes useful, there are many more times in life, many aspects of adult life that require cooperation. The next idea was straight into this example, work. In work we work in teams. Here's what we wrote. In the workplace, adults are expected to work in teams, follow instructions given by their superiors, or supervise and support the more junior members of staff. All of those are cooperation elements. So workplace is a good word to use there. Work in teams, follow instructions. Instead of bosses, I used the word superiors. I gave that word to my students as a nice alternative. And supervise and support instead of just help. Good words to substitute there for the word help. And junior members of staff. I think junior members of staff is a nice phrase. The next point was collaboration is more useful than winning. So we expressed that in a short sentence. Team collaboration skills are much more useful than a competitive determination to win. And then we moved on to this is going to be a better attitude for young people. This is the attitude that I believe schools should foster in young people. Attitude that I believe schools should foster. We say to foster an attitude, which is to create an attitude. And notice that I put I believe in this sentence. It's nice to have this making this clear that this is our opinion or my opinion in this paragraph. And the last idea, working together. We said we were going to finish just in a general way talking about children and adults working together. Instead of promoting the idea that people are either winners or losers, teachers could show children that they gain more from working together. That's again 5 sentences, and we finished that paragraph in 99 words. And the last paragraph, of course, is the conclusion. If we go back to the plan that we wrote for the conclusion, we're going to say that we accept both views, but we think cooperation is better. First, I'll show you half a sentence where I accept the other view. In conclusion, I can understand why people might want to encourage competitiveness in children. By saying I can understand why, I'm accepting the view that competitiveness could be useful. But notice the sentence isn't finished. We've got a comma there. But it seems to me that a cooperative attitude is much more desirable in adult life. So we're saying that cooperation is better. I've used more desirable instead of better. And that's the full essay finished. You can read the full essay by downloading the worksheet that is attached to this, next to this video. But first, let's quickly review the good vocabulary, the band 7 to 9 vocabulary, or some of it from this essay, the vocabulary that the examiner would really notice. Well, first we had these words all the time, competition and cooperation, but instead of just using those same two words, I also used competitive, cooperative, cooperate, and competitiveness. So some variety in the different types of words that you can use in that word family. A spirit of competition, a source of motivation, introduce an element of competitiveness, outdo other pupils, healthy rivalry, build self-confidence, determination, aspects of adult life, superiors, junior members of staff, team collaboration skills, attitude that schools should foster, promoting the idea, and a cooperative attitude is more desirable. It's that good vocabulary that really makes this a Band 9 essay. That's the end of this lesson.